Irkutsk Scientific Educational Center presents a video serial, Baikal, Legends of a Great Lake. The first film, At the Edge of a Fascinating Abyss. A huge freshwater lake lies among the snow-covered mountain ridges on the very edge of northern Asia. Ancient, pure, the deepest in the world, the most beautiful. One of the greatest lakes on the planet, a cradle of many generations and nations, it stretches for 600 kilometers. Due to the elongated form, nature peculiarities and structure of the bottom, the Baikal Basin is divided into three parts: southern, central and northern. Each part is unique and has its own character, vegetation, landscapes, and the climate as well. Mountain ridges that circle Baikal are high and sheer, with developed forms of ancient glaciations and sites of giant shifts of the Earth's crust. Shores sometimes sheer with granite cliffs, sometimes colored with marbles and quartzites, sometimes with pure sand beaches. 100 large and small rivers carry their pure mountain waters to Baikal through coniferous dense forests. The whole Baikal, with its mighty elements, bright contrasts, and striking landscapes, is a severe, wild, and beautiful land. There is another, a little known peculiarity, which differs Baikal from other large lakes of the planet. If we sum up the highest altitude of the mountain ridges which circle Baikal, the depth and the biggest thickness of sediments of the Baikal Hollow, it is visible that the amplitude of deflection of the Earth's crust under Baikal is 12 kilometers and 800 meters. It exceeds in 2 kilometers the depth of Mariana Channel. Such a deep hollow is not met on the Earth. The roots of Baikal Hollow cross the Earth's crust and go into the upper mantle up to 50 kilometers. Geologists consider that the lake is from 30 to 35 million years old. Deep sea works at Baikal and recent geomorphological data showed that modern profiles of the lake were formed before the Holocene epoch. During the pre-Baikal period, the relief was less homogeneous than it is now, but it was already mountainous. The climate changed from subtropical, hot and damp, to moderate warm and temperate. The modern structure of Baikal Highlands is laid on ancient stages and shows how intensive its tectonic and magmatic activity was. Since the end of Upper Archean, there have been at least 6 big earth crust subsidences, 7 times elevations, volcano activity 12 times, no more than 7 cycles of folding, and 5 stages of metamorphism with long intervals took place here as well. In other words, a part of the Earth crust on the Baikal, split according to the zones or racks, and joined again 30 times for the last 2.5 billion years. Baikal region is considered to be active, that marks it apart from the adjacent regions of Northern Asia. More than 200 earthquakes happen at the area a year. Baikal extremely looks like a sea, with its vast dimensions and depths, heavy storms, and sheer rocky shores. That is why in ancient times Baikal was called a sea only. One can stand for hours on its shore and continuously look at the play of waves and the sky. Even the people who live around Baikal and see it every day and every hour will not say that they have seen it the same. Mountains, rivers, nature elements, flora and fauna, stones, everything the best that there is in Siberia embodied in this beautiful lake sea. Because of the water mass of Baikal, the warmest month on the lake is August and not July, as it is in bordering areas. For this reason, the beginning of September is warm too. During the summer months, 30,001 cubic kilometers of Baikal's water surface accumulates and gives the sun's energy to the depths. The water in Baikal mainly is very cold and has a number of peculiarities. On the whole, due to a big mass, it is characterized for considerable thermal inertia. In June, the water temperature rarely exceeds 4 degrees centigrade. More even, the temperature becomes in August. In September, the water temperature is everywhere from 9 up to 15 degrees. In November, the temperature is plus 4 degrees, and in December, it is 1 or 2 degrees centigrade. The living Baikal water is a real miracle. Being strikingly crystal clear and pure, it absorbs every hue of weather changes, solstice, running waves, or haze coming from the taiga, and seasonal changes on the shores. Snow, tender verdure, malachite light of summer, and the flame of autumn leave their colors in the water. Hues change from white blue, silver gray to piercing blue or bright orange, while the sunset with flame-colored splashes of waves. The water is of a unique taste and can be used as distilled. Annually, Baikal produces more than 60 cubic kilometers of water. For the last 500 years, the Baikal level sank just for half a meter, and after erecting the Irkutsk hydroelectric power station, it drew near to the ordinary level. For the last 100 years, the maximum amplitude of water levels has been 2.5 meters. The difference of the water levels of the whole water area can reach up to 1 meter. The highest water level of Baikal is in August and September, and the lowest is in March and April. The main peculiarity of Baikal nature is its frailty and contrast. Baikal is seldom calm. It is because of the main wind that swell develops quickly and keeps for a long time. During autumn, the swell is especially steady. The height of waves in open Baikal can reach up to 4 or 5 meters. Losing their power at shores, as the waves break against solid rocks, they fill the air with the smell of the awful depths. The waves, having strewn the silver of icy sprays under the bright sun, recede into the cold world of dark depths. Transformation of Baikal is amazing in winter. The ice regime of the lake is an inseparable and characteristic feature of its water area, and in this case, it is an exception among the largest lakes in the world. Icy grottos are formed at the foot of the shore rocks before complete freezing of Baikal. Fantastic labyrinths with hanging pillars of bluish ice reveal one of the sights of Baikal winter. Frozen water in icy grottos reveals one more facet of Baikal's beauty. Every drop of Baikal water is able to pass the process of striking transformation of the complete water changing for several times for centuries. Complete freezing of the littoral part of the lake moves from the north to the south, from the middle of December to the beginning of January, although water doesn't freeze because of the fact there begin winds growing stronger. Baikal is completely frozen in the middle of January. The duration of the ice-covered period is about 5 months. Most part of this time, ice is constantly developing and can reach 1.3 meter thickness. Solemnly and calm, encircled with high mountain ridges, flow Baikal rivers. Baikal gathers its waters from the vast territory. Baikal Basin is 540,000 square kilometers. It comprises more than 5,000 rivers, which begin both in the mountains in the north and in the plains in the south. 518 tributaries, 170 big and small rivers, and 340 springs flow into Baikal. Deep, narrow valleys of Baikal rivers, which cover slopes of mountain ridges with dense net, in most cases have a steeply falling bottom. Some of them cut into mountains for 400 or 500 meters in the depth. Sources of many Baikal rivers begin from waterfalls. Their loud song is heard from a long distance. Having absorbed the dew of the sunrise and aroma of herbs, crystal clear mountain streams rush down from high rocky ledges to join Baikal waters. About 60% of all rivers that flow into Baikal are on the eastern shore of the lake. As a rule, at the western shores, mountain ravines end in stony debris cones covered with forest steppe and steppe vegetation. The beautiful Angara River is the only river which flows out from Baikal. The source of Angara is the widest and the largest in the world. It doesn't freeze even in severe winters. The stream velocity under different levels varies from 1 to 5 kilometers an hour. The maximum depth of the shallow is 4.5 meters. Long-tailed ducks, gooseanders and golden eyes stay for the winter in the 4 kilometers patch of unfrozen water. This is the only constant wintering of waterfowl in Central Asia. According to an old legend, in the place of the source there were stony vaults of a high palace made of rock. The only daughter of Baikal, blue-eyed, capricious and beautiful Angara, who didn't want to be in the stone captivity anymore, cried for mercy to big and small springs. They helped to undercut the strong gates of Baikal mountains, and Angara ran to her beloved Yenisei. When Baikal woke up, he saw that he was losing his daughter, so he grasped a rock and with all his strength he threw it after the fugitive daughter, but it was late. The rock that Baikal had thrown, people call Shaman Rock. Since that time, it stands over the rapid current in the very center of the source of the river. In ancient times, dwellers of Pre-Angaria considered that Shaman Rock had a magic power. On that place, people conducted shaman rituals, swore oaths, and prayed. There are 35 islands in Baikal. Olkhon Island is the biggest among them. The warped tectonic block of the island, that abrupts to the east by 200-meter high rocks, stretches along the western shore of Baikal for 71 kilometers. The steppe vegetation on stony slopes, beautiful cliffs, and shallow sand bays create unforgettable ensembles of picturesque landscapes. In the architectonics of rocky shores, in golden sand and marble rocks covered with bright lichen, in the grandeur of landscapes of Olkhon, there is something special and mysterious hidden. Olkhon is not only an exceptional nature phenomenon. Here is the main sacred place and cult center of Kurumkan culture. The Kuru Khans, mysterious cattle breeders, lived on Olkhon in the Iron Age. The stone walls of fortress, as the mute witnesses of wars and migration of peoples, have been left on Olkhon after they had disappeared. The Baikal Basin is cut by the continuous bottom elevation, Academic Ridge, from Olkhon Island through Ushkani Islands and farther to the northeast. The second largest island of Baikal, Большой Ushkani, is the highest peak of the underwater Academic Ridge, which elevates over the lake level for 216 meters. The archipelago Ushkani Islands is interesting by the role it played in the formation Baikal on the whole. While lower Quaternary time, the northern hollow was completely isolated from the central hollow by the united Olkhon-St. Nose elevation. Since the early Pliocene epoch, the area of Ushkani Islands and most part of Academic Ridge were elevated areas, which separated the northern hollow from central. The islands are formed with ancient rocks, marble and crystal limestone with quartzite interlayers. There are two craters of an ancient volcano on Большой Ushkani Island. Thickness of rare diversity of pink marble uncovers along the whole shoreline and sites of a glacier activity preserved on the peak of the island. The so-called Little Islands are famous for resting places of the unique freshwater seal, Baikal nerpa. During summer months, up to 2,000 seals gather on the island's coasts. At the present time, Ushkani Islands are under the state protection and a part of the Baikalsky National Park. One needs to have a special permission to visit them. The two largest bays of Baikal, Chiverkuysky and Barguzinsky, are the most popular places in the North Baikal and the most picturesque part of the Baikalsky National Park. This place of Baikal is the whole world of striking landscapes and biodiversity. Here, thermal springs are close to the cedar forests, the blue sea with a flame-colored sky, princes of flora irises with nests of seagulls and cranes, brown bears with Baikal nectar. For the waterlogged isthmus, which separates bays, the largest on Baikal St. Louis Peninsula might have become a huge rocky island. The length of the peninsula is 53 kilometers, the maximum width is 20 kilometers. The Strait Maloye Sea is the biggest in Baikal. Dry climate, warm water in picturesque shallow bays, mountain taiga and steppe landscapes, and also availability make this place of the Western Shore one of the most popular among tourists. Many caves in the Maloye Sea are sheer with rocky cliffs covered with orange limestone lichens. Many interesting archaeological objects have been preserved on the shore of the Maloye Sea. Man-made oboe towers as mute guards on Cape Aru. Facing the Maloye Sea, the triangle side crests of the Primorsky mountain ridge stand out with their treeless and white slopes formed by gneiss, shale and marble. Having climbed the rocky summit of Cape Bolshaya Kolokolnya, one can estimate the nature perfection of another popular place of Baikal, Pесчаная Bay. The bay is specially fascinating with its sandy beaches circled with granite cliffs. It is not in vain called Siberian Riviera. Archaeologists discovered the sites of ancient people settlements in the bay. Up to nowadays, waves bring ashes of ancient ritual bonfires, jade adornments, bronze, ceramic and iron articles from littoral sand. Not far from Pесчаная, there is Baklani stone, the only one small island in the southern water area of the lake. Combination of sheer rocky slopes and mirror-like water is a characteristic feature of immutable landscapes of northwestern Baikal. This part of Baikal shores is one of the most unique. Shores here strike one's impression by a unique composition of different tectonic forms. Their ensemble is of the same origin up to small seismogenous displacements seen from the side of the lake. The most impressive form from them is Shartlinsky Fault, which was formed as a result of giant breaking down of a rock massif for 700 meters deep into the earth. Lagoon lakes were formed as a result of long and consecutive approach of a shoreline by forming pebble on many capes of the northwestern shore. Manchurian deer, the most numerous ungulate animal of Pribaykalye, is met on the shores of the lagoon lakes. The shallow lake on the preserved Cape Mali Solontsovy is one of the most picturesque on Baikal. It would be hard to